Hey, what's up, everybody? We are back for another tier list video. I just did the Pixar one not too long ago, so now we're doing the other tier list that I've been wanting to do being Star Wars Part 2. There's going to be a link to the Part 1 in the card up there. It was almost an hour long because I had to talk about all of this, all the Star Wars stuff, all these movies and TV shows, so if you want to know my thoughts on all of this, you can go ahead and click the card, of course. And that was back when Obi-Wan Kenobi had just finished. That was 2 years ago. So, geez, I can't believe that's already 2 years old. But yeah, a lot has come out since then. So this is for an update. So, well, it's been due for an update for a long time. But yeah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go through. I put down a notepad where all the stuff that have come out since Kenobi, and we're gonna go through all of them. All they're all just Disney Plus shows because we still don't have another movie. But yeah, we're gonna talk about all these Disney Plus shows. I'm wondering how long this is gonna be because I'm a big Star Wars fan, but I also don't like a lot of the Disney stuff. But you know, we gotta do what we I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, we gotta tread through all of this. This yeah, don't know if there's any rambling I gotta do, but yeah. Actually, so what we have since Kenobi came out, we have Andor season one, Tales of the Jedi, Bad Batch seasons 2 and 3, Mandalorian season 3, Ahsoka, and The Acolyte. Oh boy, yeah. So yeah. Um, and there are three instances where I've actually changed my mind on these. Before we get to the new stuff, there are three things I've changed my mind since the last tier list video. One of them is Mandalorian, which I'm not talking about season 3 yet, but in terms of the first two seasons when that video came out, I've realized it's not quite S tier. It's still really good. Love those first two seasons. I would put it down in great. So not an S tier anymore, but oh well. I also changed my mind on Solo. I actually rewatched it recently, and I'm like, it's actually not. It's actually all right. I'd actually say it's good. It's not amazing, but it is better than I remember. But I really want to talk about Kenobi again because I put it in okay last time. Yeah, I'm changing it to trash. Yeah, it's Kenobi. The more and more I thought about it, the worse it got. Cause oh man, I guess we'll talk about a show I already talked about. Oh, but yeah, the more I thought about it, the worse it got. Again, it's a show that does everything in its power to try and get Obi-Wan and Vader to fight again in between episodes 3 and 4. But the way it does it is so freaking contrived and ridiculous. Where I'm just like, okay, this is just stupid, guys. Like, and the way it ends too is stupid. Like you have Obi-Wan just leave Vader there, even though he's literally said he would kill him if he must. And Vader, why doesn't he search for him? He knows his master is still alive now. Why does he just stop searching for him? Like Palpatine just is like, yeah, don't worry about it. Just don't look for him. And I'm like, why? I don't get it. Like, and also it just looks way too cheap. You have a show with Obi-Wan Kenobi, my personal favorite character, and Darth frickin' Vader. Come on, you gotta give it a big movie budget. It should have been a movie, but instead has a TV budget, and I'm just like, oh, come on, this is stupid. So yeah, change my mind on Kenobi, especially bring it down from okay to trash. So yeah. Um, Now let's move on to the rest of the stuff that have come out since then. Yeah, we're going to a bright spot this time. Andor season 1, S tier easily. Do I? Yeah, I'd say it's. Yeah, I think I go that far. Better than A New Hope. That might be a hot take, but yeah, Andor season 1 was freaking phenomenal. Like, well, I honestly, it was one of those shows where I couldn't really comprehend how good it actually was, which is why I didn't really. I wanted to do a video on it back when it was first coming out, but I ended up not doing it. But yeah, it is so freaking layered. There's it they what the best thing about Andor is that it treats its audience like adults. Like it reminds me of the Netflix like Marvel shows, like Daredevil, like those shows treated you like adults. They had more serious topics and they took their time, but they don't drag it out. There is a lot of story to tell, and they get you to know and care about these characters really well. And the fact that aside from Cassian himself, of course, I am worried about every single character. They don't. It's not clear if they live or die or not, and it's something so many Disney Plus shows struggle with, where certain characters can't die, but Andor, I'm like, no, any of them could go, and it really shows the Empire as evil. It's the most evil Empire we've seen in the whole series, and I'm saying this over over a movie where we literally saw them blow up a planet. But yeah, the way they act like Nazis and like force their control over everything, like you really do understand why everybody would snap and like, okay, hey, stop it, we got to rise up against them. And Luthen Rael's a really fascinating character too, with his whole dilemma of he's doing so many wrong and horrible things, but at least there's something good at the end. At least he's doing it for a righteous cause, but it's also he's committed so much bad that he's not going to be able to see the light, and it's like he's not going to be able to see the sunset at the end, which is really tragic. It shows gray areas for the good guys as on what they're willing to do for the whole ends justify the means. And you also had Andy Serkis coming back in Star Wars. Unlike in the sequel trilogy, he ain't wasted in this. He actually has a really interesting story arc, and I can't wait to see more of him. And Cassian, liked him in Rogue One, much more interesting in Andor. So many of the characters are interesting in Andor, and I genuinely can't wait for season 2. Legitimately, Andor season 2 is the only Star Wars thing I am actually excited for. Everything else, not so much, but give me more Andor. Like, seriously, easy S tier. Like, it's amazing. Something great came out of Disney Plus Star Wars after all. Easily the best Disney Plus show. Then we have...
This guy was driving way over the speed limit. Look at the damage.
Anyway,
this guy was going just a little over the speed limit.
But I guess I can just lump them together.
Look at the damage.
Where do I... I'll put it in good right here. I liked Tales of the Jedi. You had the story with Count Dooku. That's the best story arc, obviously, where you really do understand why he turns into a Sith. He has his arc. His return to the dark side mirrors Anakin, where one choice he has to make about killing a Jedi in order to join Palpatine. Anakin sort of did it indirectly, while Dooku does it directly, like literally putting his lightsaber in Yaddle. So, yep. And also just love seeing more of Qui-Gon too. And yeah, it's really interesting. Ahsoka, her story's alright. I guess it's nice seeing more of her. And who else is there? Well, I guess that's all for Jedi. Then there's Tales of the Empire. Did not care for Morgan Elsbeth's story. I mean, I guess it's nice to know what happened to her before she showed up in Mandalorian or Ahsoka. Okay, sure. Nobody really cared about her, especially not enough to warrant 3 episodes dedicated to her. Barris's story, though, far more interesting. Really wanted to know what happened to her after Clone Wars. Finally, nice to see it. A little underwhelming, I will admit. Thinking back on it now, it was a little underwhelming, and like the ending where she's with the fourth sister. I think it's the fourth sister, right? But like she redeems herself, and it's like that felt a little rushed. But oh well, it's an okay story arc. After that, we then have. Actually, we'll put a pin in Bad Batch. We'll lump seasons 2 and 3 together. Next, we have Mandalorian season 3, which, oh boy, I did a whole video where I ranked all the episodes. It was lumping it with seasons 1 and 2, and yep, now with season 3 added, I'm definitely gonna have to lower Mandalorian to just okay. No, because like I don't know, it's hard to do it because it's like the first 2 seasons were really good, but season 3 was a bit of a letdown. So I mean, I guess I could say it's in good, but I mean, we could still say the overall show is good, but season 3 was definitely not as good. I actually didn't hate season 3 like a lot of people do. I just thought it was really underwhelming. And like, it's definitely messy. Yeah, I mean, you have the whole first few episodes. Mando is like going to doing a baptism basically so he can join back into the Mandalorian clubhouse. And then after that's done, he just kind of hangs out and then is told, "Hey, can you help us fight these pirates?" So he does. And then it's like, "Okay, now we're going to retake Mandalore." And that's in like the last few episodes. And then they retake it. And it weirdly feels underwhelming. And I'm like, "Why? Like, what's the story?" Like the whole season should have been retaking Mandalore. That's what the whole season should have been, I think. And the fact that it isn't just makes me wonder, like, what are you guys even doing? It has a Book of Boba Fett problem where it tries doing so much. Even like Boba Fett, which had 2 episodes dedicated to Mandalorian. Mando season 3 had a whole episode dedicated to that random scientist that nobody cared about. And it's like, what are you guys doing? And yeah, I mean, I liked. It's not a horrible season. I didn't hate it like some people did. Like I still had some fun watching it. It was cool seeing Ahmed Best as that Jedi. It was cool seeing what else? Oh, Zeb in there. He looked really good, and the action is really good. And like the ending was very underwhelming, but at least it looked pretty. Um, I mean, I like what they did with Bo-Katan, but also like she sort of overtook Din Djarin's own show. So yeah, again, I didn't hate it, but it definitely wasn't very good. A huge letdown after the first 2 seasons. And then we have Ahsoka season 1. Ahsoka was a massive letdown for me. Is it better than Boba? I mean, it's actually I'm not sure if it's better than Boba Fett or not. No, I think I might prefer Boba Fett because I didn't hate Boba Fett, but at least it had cool Mando episodes. But maybe I don't know. I mean, no, Ahsoka was just really, really underwhelming. The whole show is just man. Oh man, I don't even. I'm struggling to figure out where to start with Ahsoka. Um, I mean, I guess Ahsoka herself is all right. I mean, I love Ahsoka from Clone Wars and Rebels and all that. She's my favorite female Star Wars character. But in her own show, she's weirdly underwhelming. I don't know how or why, but there you go. She's underwhelming in her own show. Like she has this whole thing where she feels guilty. I'm trying to think. Like her whole relationship with Satine. I'm trying to remember now. No, Sabine. I'm sorry, Sabine. Sorry. Um, the whole thing with Sabine. They explain that she tried training her and then she stopped. Like there's this whole thing where Sabine's past, where she lost her family on Mandalore. What else? Honestly, I can't really remember it very well. I haven't seen it since it first came out. But I mean, I do remember. Actually, there's this one big thing that happened in it where Sabine gives the map that leads to that other galaxy to find Thrawn to the bad guys. She is responsible for Thrawn coming back to the regular galaxy and causing a bunch of people to die. And for some reason, the show doesn't really address that. Like Ahsoka just kind of pats her on the back, like, "Hey, it's okay. I knew you did it to save Ezra." And it's like, wait, what? Like, should she? should there be more of an acknowledgement that she kind of doomed the whole galaxy, I feel. And yeah. And I mean, I will say Ezra is really good. And he definitely felt like the Ezra from Rebels. Good actor playing him. It was also, of course, one of or the last performance of Ray Stevenson as Baylan Skoll. I thought he was pretty interesting. I mean, he had that whole thing where he believed the Jedi were flawed and all, and he wants to. He had a motivation. I just can't remember what it is, but I do remember finding it interesting. Okay, and Thrawn, underwhelming. You made Thrawn underwhelming. Like, he was watered down in Rebels, sure, but that's a kid's show. I get it. But in this, it's like, his strategy was so nonsensical. And I'm just like, oh, we should have Thrawn, like, outsmart the good guys by escaping. Really, the only outsmarting he did was just kind of outrun them. Like, he kind of just escaped before they could reach him. And it's like, really? That's how smart you're going to portray Thrawn? Okay. And of course you had Hayden Christensen coming back as Anakin Skywalker. I will say Ahsoka handled him a lot better than in Kenobi, but at the same time, I mean, I liked that episode where the flashback to Clone Wars. It was cool seeing it in live action, but also, what exactly was the lesson? Like, the lesson Anakin was trying to teach Ahsoka was super vague, and I still couldn't exactly quite figure it out. Like, something about, do you want to live or die? I think there is more to that, but again, it's not made very clear. So yeah, it's not. I mean, I didn't hate the show, but it was also just it was painfully underwhelming. For me, Ahsoka might have been the last straw where I'm like, okay, unless I actually want to watch a Disney Plus show, I'm just gonna wait for all the episodes to come out. Oh, and yeah, that's what happened with Acolyte. We'll get to Acolyte in a second. After that, we have Bad Batch. Yep. So yeah, in the previous video, it was on only season 1 had come out. Now we have the last 2 seasons 2 and 3. I really liked those 2 seasons, and it was nice seeing more of the Bad Batch. It was nice seeing Crosshair, again, by far the most interesting character, where he's with the Empire the whole time, and that whole episode in season 2 where he's with that other clone and they get back, they fail to bring back supplies to the Empire, and that other clone he's with dies, and the Imperial officer there doesn't give a crap about him. He's just like, you failed to bring the supplies back. And Crosshair just snaps and kills him. And I was actually rooting for him to do that. And it was really nice seeing him reunite with the Bad Batch, form a nice relationship with Omega. And then, of course, and Tech had that really emotional sacrifice. Yeah, I didn't see that coming. And also, it's amazing how I didn't realize how much I liked Tech until he died. And I was like, what? No. And the other Bad Batchers, they're fine. Echo, that was cool. Hunter and Wrecker are nice. And season 3 definitely had a more through-line plot of trying to get to the planet with all the cloning happening. And it was definitely interesting. I'm not entirely sure if it's setting up Rise of Skywalker, but it might be. And that one guy, what's his name? I can't remember what his name was, but that one Imperial officer who's leading the whole charge in that cloning facility, way more threatening and intelligent than Thrawn in Ahsoka. That's a little sad, but yeah. And the climax is really nice. I was honestly shocked none of them died, but yeah, they all survived in the end, which was it was nice. It was a nice happy ending for the Bad Batch. And though upon further thought, it does make me think, what was the point of the show? Like, I honestly do wish the show focused more on the overall clones. But at the same time, it is called Bad Batch. It should focus on the core team. So I get it. But man, it would have been nice to explore a little bit more of the clones after Order 66, just a little bit more. But yeah, I thought Bad Batch, the overall show, pretty good. I'm glad they didn't stretch it out. 3 seasons, that's a good run. Avatar: The Last Airbender was only 3 seasons, so I'm fine with only having that many. It's still better than Resistance, which only had 2 seasons. Oh boy. Next we have The Acolyte, which, yeah, that's the latest show, and oh boy, that is, I'm gonna say it, it's the worst. I actually think Acolyte might be the worst. No, it is the worst Star Wars thing I've ever seen. I'm not even kidding. Good things, cool fight scenes, lightsaber fights out of context were really cool, yes. And I definitely didn't expect some of the characters to die, like major characters. Like it was bold. It's not devoid of quality, but yeah, I feel like this might be the most I'll ramble in this, because oh boy, I just want to talk about how bad this show is. Because first off, you have these flashback episodes where we see the whole show revolves around this quote unquote mystery about what happened to these twins and on this night where they grew up in this cult of witches, and these Jedi come in to bring them out. And it's really weird. Like at first I was like, why are they there? But then they explain, oh, they're looking for a vergence in the Force, which I don't think they really explain it that well, but okay, sure. And for some reason, Osha wants to be a Jedi, even though she grew up in this cult of witches that antagonize the Jedi. I don't know why she sees them, looks at them very fondly, but there you go. And of course, and for some reason too, their mother is okay with her going with the Jedi. And again, I don't get it, since these witches believe the Jedi are evil. And oh yeah, I guess there's also the power of one, the power of two, the power of men. Yeah, I'm not even gonna finish that. That was really stupid. And then there's also this weird thing where she's okay with Osha going with the Jedi, and the Jedi come over. For some reason, she antagonizes them by cryptically telling them, oh, you're gonna die in the future because of your good intentions. And after doing something with May, who Soul thinks is Osha, Soul ends up killing her, and she's all like, hey, I was gonna let you take Osha. Like, maybe you should have led with that. And then there's that bridge where they're falling down, or they're about to fall, and Soul has to choose which one to save. And he chooses to save Osha, obviously. But it's also like, dude, you have the Force. Just use the Force to hold them both. You don't have to hold up the bridges. Just hold them with the Force. You can save them both. Like, would have been that much easier. And then the Jedi cover this up and jump to the show's present day, where May joins the Sith and starts killing those 4 Jedi that were there that night. There was Carrie-Anne Moss's character, Trinity from The Matrix. She dies in the first episode. Then she goes to this other Jedi who commits suicide because he was super guilty about that night. Which, by the way, I don't know what exactly he was guilty about. Like, all he wanted to do was to go home. He was a Padawan that night, and he just really, really wanted to go home. So I guess he sped up the situation, but he didn't really do anything that bad to make me go, oh, I get why you feel so guilty about this. So guilty that you'll want to kill yourself for it. I'm like, why? And then there's the Wookiee Jedi. They go to him, and the Sith ends up killing him, and for some reason he decides to reveal himself even though he didn't need to, and he starts killing all those Jedi after having a big fight. The show seems to want you to side with him because he's all like, oh, I'm a dark sider because I want to be free. Like, you guys hold me back. I want to be free. And I'm like, I mean, I can see why a Sith would think that way. I don't have a problem with that. But the show really wants, but the way the show frames it, it's as if they want you to sympathize with him. They want you to go, oh, I get it now. I can agree with that. But it's like, no, Sith are bad guys. Nice. And yeah, that leads into my, okay, and then of course the Sith brings Osha, tempts her. I guess there's supposed to be a romance between them and we're supposed to root for it, but it's like, why am I supposed to root for a good guy to get with a bad guy? It's the Reylo thing all over again. People for some reason want Rey and Kylo Ren to be together, and I'm like, why do you want a Jedi to marry a Sith? Like, I don't get it. And then of course she finds out, oh, Soul killed her mother and she's super mad about it, so she kills Soul. And yep, she decides, you know what, I'm gonna join the Sith. And the way the show ends with her and the Sith looking in the sunset, it's like they want you to root for them. They frame it as if, she made the right choice, joined the bad guys because the Jedi are the real bad guys. And it's yeah, that's stupid. I'm sorry, that's stupid. Guys, the Sith are evil. They are all selfish. Why are we supposed to root for the bad guys? Why are we supposed to see the Sith as the real good guys? Are we saying it's okay that the Sith later blew up a planet? Are we saying they're okay killing billions of people? That's okay now? Is that what we're doing? And then the worst part, maybe the worst part of the whole thing is you have the Jedi where this one Jedi sees all of this and decides to blame all the Jedi's murder, blame it all on Soul and say he killed himself. This whole cover-up, and I guess all the Jedi just go along with this cover-up for some reason. So I guess the show is saying that the Jedi covered up other Jedi's murder because they didn't want to expose themselves as weak in front of the Senate, therefore giving the Sith the opportunity to rise up and stop them. Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, that's definitely what George Lucas planned with the prequels. And I'm seeing so many people say that, the Jedi were meant, the whole point of the prequels was apparently that the Jedi were actually the bad guys the whole time, and the Acolyte is supposed to reinforce that. And I'm like, BS about that. If that were true, why is it Return of the Jedi ends with a triumphant note that the Jedi are coming back? The whole point of the original trilogy, they were building up the Jedi as the good guys, and it's a shame that they're gone. It was a triumphant moment at the end when they came back. That's why it was called Return of the Jedi. It was a triumphant moment that they came back. The problem with the Jedi in the prequels was that they became a little too overconfident. They hadn't seen the Sith in 1,000 years, so they just got a little too overconfident in their power, which gave the Sith the chance to rise up. And now Luke restarts the Jedi Order, and he's going to make sure that doesn't happen again. Well, I guess the sequel trilogy says he doesn't do that, but that was the idea George Lucas had, okay? So now Acolyte is all like, well, actually, the Jedi are the real bad guys, and it's a good thing they all died, and it's a good thing that the Sith are rising up. And I'm just like, you got this whole thing backwards, my guy, or I guess my girl. Leslie had, never mind. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah. The biggest, I thought about, is it worse than Rise of Skywalker? And I'm like, yeah, it is. At least the Rise of Skywalker treated the Jedi coming back as a triumphant moment. At least Rise of Skywalker was all like, yeah, Palpatine dying is a good thing. At least it realized the Jedi are the good guys and the Sith are the bad guys. I don't know why we're doing this with the Acolyte, but yeah, it sets up a season 2, but I really, really, really hope we don't get a season 2. Just, you already screwed up so much. And thankfully, it's a show that is made by Disney, not Lucas, so I can just wave it away as non-canon. That's what I'm gonna do. Similar to the sequel trilogy in Kenobi, it just isn't canon in my head. It was made by people who don't understand Star Wars at all. So, yep, that's a long ramble about that, and that'll be all. Yeah, it's everything Star Wars right now. Probably wait. I mean, I guess I'll probably wait another 2 years before I do another update because we're, of course, getting more Disney Plus shows in the future. We have Skeleton Crew coming next, which we know little to nothing about. And we have a few more movies coming, which none of them I'm excited for. Oh, we're getting a Mandalorian movie with Grogu. Okay, that just seems a bit desperate. Oh, we're getting a movie with Rey after the Rise of Skywalker, training the next generation of Jedi Order. Cool. Would have been nice if we saw Luke do that, but okay. Oh, we're getting a movie that explores the origins of the Jedi, and it's being directed by James Mangold. After the failure of Indiana Jones, I don't know if they trust Mangold again. Oh, we're getting a movie that's a crossover of all the shows that take place during the Mandalorian time period. Okay, sure. So, literally the only thing that's been good in that time period is the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. Everything that's come after that has not been good, so I don't give a crap. Yeah. I'm honestly sad how apathetic I feel about Star Wars now. Like, I very quickly was like, yeah, Acolyte's not canon. Whereas with the sequel trilogy, it took me a little bit of time for me to fully realize how bad those movies actually are and to say they're not canon in my head. But Acolyte, we've gotten so much bad Star Wars where I'm with Acolyte, I'm just like, yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it's just not canon. Yeah. It's sad for me to say this being a Star Wars fan, but yeah. But at least Andor Season 2 will be good. Let's end on a high note. I'm excited for Andor Season 2. So that'll be it for now. Peace!